Well, here we are. Another week has gone by. Welcome to Sunday and the live show. Thank you for being with us. Yeah, we'll be here next week. We do have a trip coming up after next Sunday. We leave on the Monday to drive the new Porsche Cayenne. That's my old one. Yeah, so the Porsche Cayenne, we're going to get a chance to drive the S and the Turbo. And the S now has the V8 engine back in it. So we're excited about that. All new dashboard in the Cayenne and a facelifted model. Quite an extensive mid-cycle update for the Porsche Cayenne. So that will be a week, just over a week from now, we go on that trip. Okay, so what's coming up on the channel? Well, this is the Crosstrek. We were just in Kelowna, came back on Friday afternoon. We actually drove there, which was nice. So we had a chance to drive the all-new Crosstrek there. So that video will be dropping on Tuesday. And then the Acura RDX, that's going to drop on Wednesday. And we're picking up two cars tomorrow. We're getting a Mazda Miata or an MX-5 and the Mercedes-Benz EQB. So think of the GLB, but electric. So that'll be pretty good. Don't forget to sign up using the promo code MOTORMOUTH to carcostcanada.com. Become an expert member, and away you go. You can do your searches. It opens up a bunch of searches for you. Okay, we're going to get into our chats in just a second. We do have some pictures to get to. Here's the first one. It is my T-Bird. He says, according to my cherry tree and the old Thunderbird watch, I'm prepped for summer. Got the roof down. So actually he sent me pictures, one with the hard top, one with the soft top up, and then this one with the soft top down. So I chose that one. All right, our next picture, here's a nice combo. This is Neil. He sent a picture of his Honda Civic EXL with the blacked out chrome window trim and his base 911 which he's been enjoying for 9 years now. What a nice combination. Obviously you like white. Should bring our white Cayenne down there and park it there. Speaking of white Porsches, this is from Yale with his Cayman R. And he's had this for many years. He says it brings a lot of enjoyment. So Cayman R, that's a real special car. And it looks good in white too. And this one isn't a car, but it's a watch. It's from John, who sent this. He said, not car related, but I picked up my first Swiss luxury watch. It's a 42 millimeter Tudor Pelagos. I was between the Pelagos and the new Tudor Black Bay, and the master chronometer movement, and a Grand Seiko with a spring drive. But I chose this. That is the best real tool sport diving watch you can buy. So if you're not aware, Tudor is owned by Rolex, and this is a titanium watch. Got a very deep rating for diving. Has great lume, has a helium escapement valve on the side of it, has a wonderful extension bracelet with a spring in the clasp. But really, that's a high-end watch, a high-tech watch as well. So congratulations on that. All right. Of course, we do super chats here on the live show. If you just have to get a question answer, it's just a way to highlight it for me, and I get to see it on the screen here. So there you go. I can read those ones out when they come through, and one has already come through. Nissan Sentra is good car for 2023. We're big fans of the Sentra. So I guess it was 2.5 years ago they introduced the latest Sentra. A big change was adding independent rear suspension to the car. That made it much more driver focused. I would call the power in it adequate. It's not going to set any land speed records, but it's really a good looking car with a wonderfully simple and easy use dashboard with all the things that I love in a regular car, which are real switches and dials. It comes really nicely equipped, and it's incredible value. If you're shopping in the compact car segment, the Sentra is the real one to beat when it comes to overall value. Like the most expensive one they sell in the Canadian market, these are Canadian dollars, is 27 grand. So it'd be even cheaper if you're in the United States. But thank you for the super chat. All right, let's go to the top. Here's Senjib. Thinking about leasing a 2023 GMC Sierra Denali Ultimate Performance. What are your thoughts? Well, the the General Motors trucks are fantastic. They came out with some really nice products over the last couple of years. So the full-size truck line was redone with new interiors, wonderful. Like the problem with talking and reviewing pickup trucks is there are so many variables when it comes to a pickup truck, whether it's the bed and the cab, or the drive system, the engines, the differential in the back. It's like, oh, I got a chance to drive with chief engineer of generation, not this generation, but one of the last generations of the full-size pickup trucks. A Canadian guy, by the way, who was chief engineer on those. And I said, how many configurations are there of a full-size pickup truck? He says hundreds of thousands of variables. So, yeah, if you can get one and you like it, why not? General Motors, the thing about Chevrolet and General Motors is their quality scores are very high, and I think that really is on the back of, I know that's a GMC, but just saying the trucks in general, they have above average industry scores, and I think it is because their pickup trucks have proven to be very, very reliable. Here's a super chat. Why would Honda drop XM radio on the new Honda Accord? I don't know. I just don't know, because it's available in other cars, and in Canada it shows that it is available on the top trim. And we had somebody actually from satellite radio reach out to us and say they were surprised it was on there. But anyway, it does show it on the Canadian website. Not sure why. I really just don't know. And it's a strange thing. All right, let's go up to the top again. KP, I knew this one was going to come in. What's going on over at General Motors with the cancellation of the Bolt? Such sad news that Big Three are now trying to get customers to blow wads of cash on e-trucks and SUVs. Toyota be welcoming customers over. That's not quite true. So one thing you've got to remember is General Motors this year and heading into next year is ratcheting up all of their electrified vehicles. Okay, so all of the lifting in the EV space for GM has been done by the Bolt. They've had one car, and it is the second best-selling electric car in North America. Now, Tesla is miles ahead, but if you're just looking at pure facts, the Bolt has been the second best. Now, so what's coming later this year? We're going to get the Chevrolet Blazer full EV. Then we're going to get the Chevy Equinox full EV. Then what's coming is the Chevy Silverado full EV. So they're switching to this new platform, which is called the Ultium platform. It's a modular electric platform that can be built from a smaller crossover to a full-size pickup truck. So General Motors needs the capacity to switch to this new platform. So unfortunately, they had to get rid of the Chevrolet Bolt to make room for the new technology. Now, all along, they've been telling us that the upcoming electric vehicles will be built on this new platform, which kind of hinted, if you could read between the lines, that this first generation of electric vehicle from Chevrolet isn't going to be compatible. So it was only a matter of time where they needed to have the factory running on the new Ultium platform. It is sad that it's gone away, because it was hands down the best value electric vehicle you could get. In Canadian dollars, it was $41,000. You shave off $5,000 from the feds. That's a $36,000, 400 plus kilometer electric vehicle. It was a hell of a deal. So if there are any Bolts around and you can get one, wouldn't be a bad way to go. But your point is that they just want to sell expensive full-size trucks. Now, that could be argued, but they have said, here are the numbers they've stated. The Chevy Equinox, which will be introduced by the end of the year, will be $30,000 in the United States and $35,000 in Canada. Now, that might have nothing in it, and the one you really want might be like $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 more. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what the packaging is on that. But just to say that we're going to be saying goodbye to an inexpensive EV, not to be replaced by another one, only time will tell. And it's not exactly like Toyota has any affordable EVs. They've just got hybrids. Um, I think we have more super chats here, so let's do those. Here's Dave Cochran. Hey, Zach, longtime viewer from TV days. Used to host a TV show in Canada all about cars. Found a used 18 Cayenne PHEV for same money as Grand Cherokee 4xE. What would you do? Not a fan of the Cayenne plug-in hybrid. I've heard that it is the most problematic of the Cayennes. Cayennes have been very, very reliable, but I've heard that they're the ones that go back to the dealer the most. So if you just absolutely love it and you have to have it, but I would just say, honestly, just keep looking. It wouldn't be what I would choose. I'm a huge Cayenne fan. We have two of them, but that's not the one I would want. Outsider reviews. What are your thoughts on more OEM dropping Android Auto, Apple CarPlay for subscription-based apps? I'm not a fan and think it will fail, i.e. OnStar. Well, OnStar didn't fail. So this is all coming out because General Motors has said in the last few weeks that they're not going to be supporting Apple and Android. Now, what we don't know is what their alternative is going to look like. But we are seeing a trend towards, now don't confuse this with Android Auto. It's called Android Automotive, okay? So Android Auto is what I have on my Android phone. And when I plug it in, it comes up on the screen. Android Automotive is the actual back-end software that runs the information screen that they're going to be using, and a lot of other brands. We saw it for the first time in Volvo. I'm trying to remember, well, we'll just stick with General Motors and Volvo for now, but there are other brands that are going this route. And what they're doing is they're allowing the ability to add more apps and things into the system. Plus, the one thing that Android is particularly good at is search. As we all know, we all use Google, and also voice commands. If you've ever used Android and Apple devices, Android is superior when it comes to voice recognition and voice searches. So you take the power of what Google does well and you marry it with their software that's running the back end. So don't think you're not going to be able to use an Apple phone with it. It's just Android Automotive. It's not Android Auto. So what we don't know, and everybody's getting all bunched in a knot about this, is are they going to come with something that is maybe just as good and you might not even miss it? So all the apps you use on your and all the apps you use now on Apple CarPlay might be mirrored on their system anyway, like Spotify, Waze, all the stuff you use. So let's just wait and see what it is. I can't imagine they're going to get rid of something that is that popular and replace it with something that's crapola. Now Volvo did that. Theirs is not good, but I can't imagine that's the case with GM because they have a huge engineering, especially at electronics department. And the one thing I'll say about General Motors is their electronics are really good and easy to use. So there you go. Another super chat from Stuart Jack. I don't see a question, but thank you for that. That's very nice of you. Okay, let's go up to the top again. Okay, Sanjeev, I'm gonna skip by because we've already answered one question. Outside reviews again. In a week, I guess this is a new channel. I got my first media vehicle to drive for a week to review on my new channel. What would you say are the do's and don'ts during that week? It's a GMC Sierra AT4. Okay, so if you're getting into the test drive world and it's your first press car from a company, so you're getting it from General Motors, which is, first of all, good on you because that's not easy to do, to get the car companies to actually say, yes, you can take one of our cars. I've been doing this for 30 years and 31 years. And so for me, it's easy. I just contact the car companies to get the cars. But when you first start out, you've got to get someone to kind of help you and vouch for you. So the fact you've got one from GM, that's a big deal. So the do's and don'ts. The do's, this is what you do. You treat it like it's your own car, okay? You don't do crap to that truck that you wouldn't do to your own car. You guarantee that you take it back just as nice as when you picked it up. And because it's your first time, wash it, got to fill it up, spend some time, take it back exactly the way you got it. Okay? You don't want to show up with the wheels all scratched, a dent in the bed of the truck, and it's all dirty. No, you're just a jerk if that's the case. So the real thing is, treat it like you paid for it yourself. Use it for its intended purpose. If you want to go off-roading with it or whatever, be careful with it. It's not your truck, it's their truck, and they've been nice enough to lend it to you, and they can take those loans away. So it's quite incredible. We pick up a lot of our test vehicles from one or two main suppliers here in Vancouver. And the stories we get back from what other auto journalists do to these cars is like the wheel damage, like all around the wheels, all damage. It's like, who are these idiots that are driving these cars? So don't do that. Treat it like it's your own car. Chevy Trailblazer versus Buick Encore GX. Pros and cons, your opinion. Less interested in Kia Seltos and long leg, not comfy on the Crosstrek. I'm not sure what the BCZ is. I haven't driven, to be honest with you, I haven't driven the Encore, but I have driven the Trailblazer, and it's got that funky 3-cylinder turbo engine in it. And it doesn't have a lot of horsepower, but it actually has good torque, and it's actually pretty fun to drive. The steering is very, very light. I haven't driven the Buick, but typically what they do is when they make the Buick version, they make it quieter. So they add more features in it. But the Trailblazer is interesting because it's one of the biggest in the subcompact class. It's got a really nice sized back seat, a good cargo area. I think it's a great looking vehicle. General Motors and Chevrolet, I think their styling is really strong right now. And that Trailblazer, especially with certain colors, looks really quite good. Take them for a drive and see what you think. The interesting thing is the engine on paper, you go, come on, 3-cylinder turbo. When you drive it, you might be surprised. JD, great Honda Civic review the other day, too pricey, though, as we know in Canada. Side question, what was the site where you get your aftermarket watch bands from? Thanks. Okay, so hang on a sec. Let me get one. You know you're an addict, a watch addict, when you have a box full of watch straps. This is my addiction. These are all watch straps for all of my different watches. I've got lots of them. So, and it's kind of fun when you get bored of a watch. It's not so bad to just get. And look at them all. I mean, it's like a sickness. Okay, these are the ones you're talking about. These are from a woman called Erica with a K. Erica's Originals. All right. So they are like a NATO style strap that you slip over and the watch sits here. They're really, really comfortable, and they're great for the summer. And boy, does that have a lot of dust on it. Oh my God. So, this was a box I was sent from Air Canada when I hit 1 million miles. So now it's my watch strap box, and I got to dust it. Let me put that away. Yeah. I ran into somebody the other day, and they said, they're talking about watches and cars. I said, you couldn't pick two more expensive hobbies, cars and watches. Okay, so back to the watch strap. It's Erica's Originals. They're not cheap. They're about $100, but they're really well made. They're custom to exactly what you want. You can pick colors and all that kind of stuff. So have at it. Hugo is here. Have pretty much the same. Hi Zach. Having pretty much the same price in Canada, not taking into account hybrid. Do you think the NX350 Ultra Luxury is worth comparing to the equivalent GLC 300 at X3? Yeah, I think so. The GLC is just being replaced, and they'll be arriving at dealers any time now over the next few weeks with the new updated model. Even with, you take the new model out of the equation, even if you're shopping for the old model, it still is a quite relevant car. Like if I put somebody in a brand new, not the newest one, but the brand new one of the current GLC, they'd be like, oh, this is nice. They did such a good job at Mercedes-Benz. They've updated the screens and things as they've gone along, and it's still a great car. 9-speed automatic transmission, good fuel economy. The X3, I would say, would be the driver of the three. The GLC is pretty close, but the NX, but to be honest with you, I prefer the hybrid of the NX over the 350. Okay, I think we have some more Zupa chats, yeah? I didn't realize my addiction to the watch straps was that bad until I did that here on the live show. And then I opened the box and I'm like, that's ridiculous how many freaking watch straps you have. Another super chat. Thoughts on Hyundai Palisade as a 7-seater SUV? Listen, it is, with its cousin, the Kia Telluride, in my opinion, the best three-row SUV for the money. I just think that those two vehicles, whether you get the Palisade or the Telluride, are the ones to beat. They have a huge amount of space. They've got really nice tech on the inside. You can even get an 8-passenger version if you want. I think it's a great choice. So if you can get one, which probably will be the issue, have at it. You'll be very happy with it. Okay, let's do another one at the top here. This is from Todd Baker. Do you know if Toyota have increased output yet? Kind of mad, been waiting 24 months for a Sienna. Okay, we had an event with Toyota recently, and we were chatting with Stephen Beattie, who is the vice president of Toyota Canada, and he told us point blank, he said 2023 is the catch-up year, and they have plans to really up production of their cars worldwide. So they must have been able to rectify some of their supply chain issues. So he said they're going to be putting, the output will be going up a lot to help with the back orders. And then for 2024, they believe that they're going to be all caught up. So not sure what that means for specialty items like, say, a RAV4 Prime. I would hope for the case of your Sienna that it's going to come sooner. That's what he said. I'm just passing along the information. He was quite adamant that things are going to be getting better at Toyota. All right. Here's my T-Bird, who had the picture up earlier. You saw at the beginning. What happened to Canada Drives? Did you get up to Knox Mountain in Kelowna? No, we didn't go up Knox Mountain. They had another drive route for us that we drove up almost close to Kamloops, but Andrew and I didn't make it that far because we were doing all of our extra filming. But Canada Drives was a sponsor of this channel for quite a while, about a year or so. And Canada Drives, they went into the market and raised a whole bunch of money, and then they went a big push selling used cars direct to consumers, and they advertised here on this channel. They got caught with the prices of used cars going up a lot, hard to get cars, and they have now filed for bankruptcy protection. The company is being reconfigured and going back to what their roots were originally, which was financing people that have bad credit, basically is what they started out doing. And they're going back to that. Any cars they have on their website that are for sale will be sold, and then they're just going to revert back to the business they had. So they burned through a lot of money launching that company and brand across the country, and I think they just got caught with the pandemic and vehicle shortages and the rising price of cars. So yeah, it was a business move they made, and it didn't work out. Here's YA or Ya. Thanks for the great videos. Tesla owner. Love it. Congratulations. Here's Patrick saying, placed an order for a 23 Prius Prime XSE this week in replacement of a 19 Golf Sport Wagon 1.8T. Thoughts on the difference between the two vehicles? Well, I think what you're going to be shocked about is just the demand that you will have when you go to sell or trade your Volkswagen Golf Sport Wagon. Because that thing isn't sold anymore. It's gone away. There's a long list of people that love station wagons. There's no station wagons being built anymore. So the good news is, hopefully, and do your research on this, and don't let the dealer give you some, if you're trading it in, some cheeky trade-in price, because you'll find when you start digging around that a Volkswagen Golf sport wagon, especially if it's unique, like it's got all-wheel drive or maybe it even had a manual transmission, they're worth big money. So a colleague of mine, his son has a Volkswagen Golf sport wagon, the all-track, so the kind of rugged-looking one with a manual transmission. Now it's 4 or 5 years old. It is worth more now than it was when it was brand new. So there you go. Okay, so what are the differences going to be with your Prius? The one thing I'll say is the Prius suspension is really well done. Like, I would never, ever put Prius and road trip in the same sentence. Like, I wouldn't want to go on a long road trip in a Prius. That would be like punishment. This new car with the larger engine, with the 2-liter engine, with the modified hybrid system and the vastly improved suspension, road noise, they've insulated the car better, and great steering feel. It is now a really competent highway car. It's a car I would take on the highway, no problem, and I would never have said that before. So the similarities are that they're both cars. So you get that low to the ground feel and good driving dynamics, and Volkswagen does a good job at that. But yeah, you're going from an older, very simple car to a very new and high-tech car. That's one of the best ways to describe it. So you're heading into the future. But don't let them give you a cheeky offer on your sport wagon. That's worth good money. Excuse me. Oh, by the way, somebody on our Questions, Coffee, and Cars said that we don't put coffee in our mugs. It's like, hello, do you know how much coffee we drink? Yes, of course we drink coffee. Oh, they said the cups are empty. It's like, no. And how would you know that unless you have x-ray vision? Eden's here. CX-50 Turbo or Civic Hatch Touring. Size doesn't matter. That's what she said. Well, these are very different vehicles. So a Civic hatchback has a continuously variable transmission, and the Mazda has a 6-speed automatic. So that's quite a big difference. You've got a 1.5-liter turbo in the Civic hatch, or you've got a 2.5-liter turbo available in the CX-50. So you're going to have more power and maybe a little bit more dynamic drive. Not a more dynamic drive, but a more powerful engine. I would say for road manners, the Honda is going to be hard to beat. It is just a really nice car to drive. It has a great suspension. It eats up the bumps. It's got independent rear suspension where the CX-50 does not. They're very. You're kind of comparing apples and oranges here. One is a car, and the other one is an SUV. So you have to decide exactly what you want first of all. Excuse me. I drank more of my tea. This is tea, not coffee. And it's herbal tea. Okay, back up to the top we go. By the way, 468 people on board, 119 thumbs up. If you guys could smash those thumbs up, that really helps. I think it helps. We're going with it. It helps. So do that. Here's Chris. Are 23 GLC models coming to the U.S. different than Germany? I don't know exactly. From what I understand, the plug-in hybrid we're not getting. We're getting the base 300 with the turbo 4-cylinder, and then we'll probably get a higher performance model. But from what I understand, we're not getting the plug-in variant. That might change. And then, of course, Mercedes-Benz is doing all their electrified vehicles. But that's really all I know about that. And we have talked to Mercedes-Benz Canada, to get a chance to drive the GLC soon. Okay. Here's Rick Jensen. If the high prices of EVs, which used EVs would you recommend? Would you buy a 10-year-old or older EV? No, I wouldn't. I'm not ready to buy a new EV, never mind a used EV. I'm just not there yet. I have not met the EV of my dreams, put it that way. There's plenty of gas powered cars I drive and I go, wow, this is amazing, especially if you got lots of money. But for EVs, they don't, none of the, not, I haven't met the one that speaks to me. The two closest are the ones that are not built to be EVs. They were built as gas models, and then they converted them to EVs. So my favorite sedan is the BMW i4. Just a wonderful driving car. It drives like an old school kind of BMW, even though it's electrified. And then the Genesis GV70 electrified is just a classic case of what they do best, which is beautiful interiors and design. It just happens to be electric. So personally right now, I wouldn't be buying a 10-year-old EV. And if you're looking at a 10-year-old EV, you're probably looking at a Nissan Leaf. You know, for $45,000, I think getting a new one is the way to go. Richard, hey Zach, thank you for the informative reviews you and Andrea do. Yesterday I picked up an order for a Genesis GV70 2.5 Advanced Plus. They said it would be 4 or 5 month wait. Well, there you go. It's worth the wait. You are going to love it. It's a great car. Of the GV70 gas models, that's the one to get, is the 2.5. I think the 3.5 is too expensive. The electrified is beautiful, but that ain't cheap. So yeah, you're going to love it. It's a beautiful car. Well done. Just put your seatbelt on and wait. Models at U.S. dealers have different infotainment systems. I think someone's replying to something else. Susan is here. Hello, Motormouth. Good to see you. Braveheart. I watched, where is it here? I watched your GTI review and was wondering if it's only on the base model that you get the volume knob, if not going GLI. You have nailed it. Okay, so the GTI base model gets the 8-inch screen. Now the black around it is the same size as the larger screen, but on either side of that 8-inch screen you get the little twiddly knobs. You get volume and tuning. Love it. When you go up to the base, that area that is surrounded with the black is now the screen. And then you go to the haptic, swipey nonsense stuff, and you get rid of the volume knob. Jetta has the old dashboard. The old GTI and Jetta dashboard remains in the GLI. So all the conventional buttons and switches are still there. So you can get a GTI with the volume knob. Now, lots of rumors and speculation online about GTI. So this has been confirmed. This will be the last Golf that's going to have a gas engine. So if you like the idea of a GTI or a Golf R, once this run is done, and we don't know how long they're going to keep them in production, they will be replaced by probably an ID2 or an ID3. That's what will be coming to North America. But the gas is going away. Not sure on the timeline of that. What we do know, there's lots of speculation that the steering wheel in the GTI, which has the haptic switches, is going to be replaced with the old steering wheel of physical buttons. Hasn't been confirmed. There's just lots of speculation on that. So if you like the idea of a GTI and you want the volume knob, the base model is the one for you. And yeah, that's the one you want. Okay. Down to the bottom we go. Okay, another super chat here. Triple B came across a suggested post from 6 years ago that you made talking about how you got into the business. Do you still do TV and radio? Love the channel. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I did that. I remember where I did that. I can specifically remember where I did that. I was driving a Mercedes-Benz AMG C-Class convertible, and we drove through Italy into Slovenia, and the road that I drove on, I can still remember that road. It was this little 2-lane road that went from one town to the next, and it was absolutely paved with gold. It was so nice, and that car was fantastic. And so I can clearly remember where I was. So that was recorded in Slovenia. And I answered the question how I got into this. So a lot of people want to know. So I started out in radio and TV. And now radio and TV has all gone away. It's interesting. When did you say that was? That was from 6 years ago. So it's amazing to see how quickly the world has changed in 6 years. So the 2 English language Canadian automotive TV shows are now gone. And I was on both of them. Driving TV is kaput, and motoring TV is kaput as well. And the radio show I used to host across Canada, I don't do that any longer. I don't do any newspaper articles any longer. I don't write any magazine articles anymore. It's all gone. It's now just you and YouTube. So it's amazing to see how much the media world has changed. Never mind the car business. The media world is going through a big flux, and all of these traditional platforms are really struggling, like financially, really struggling. So I think that we are on the right side of history, getting ahead on YouTube. And we looked at it years ago and said it's the future. It's not TV and radio. So that's why we spent so much work building up the YouTube channel. So I'm glad you're here, and we're not going anywhere. And the other great thing is we're our own boss. Well, you're our boss, because if you don't watch, we're screwed. But you know what I mean. We're our own boss. Another super chat. I had a 19 Kia Stinger GT Limited, which I sold last year. Now I'm looking for an automatic sedan hatchback for around $40,000. What do you suggest? Well, that's a very generic question. What I would love for you to do, just type below, is maybe list a few that you're thinking of buying, because I'm not sure what size you want. You want a medium size like a Stinger? Do you want a compact car? You want an import? What do you want? So give me some suggestions and I'll give you some feedback on those. I don't know, the Stinger GT was a pretty nice car. Another super chat. Thoughts on the 2022 Lexus GX460? Looking for an SUV that'll last, minimal maintenance, retain value, not looking for EV for 5+ years as tech is changing very quickly. Okay, so the GX is the body-on-frame SUV made by Lexus/Toyota that starts its life as really a Pathfinder. Not a Pathfinder, a 4Runner. The problem with the GX is that it's old kind of technology. They've updated it as they've gone along through the years, but it's hard on gas, really hard on gas, and is a body-on-frame truck that might not be for everybody. The upside is it will outlast you if you maintain it. It's just one of those vehicles that will just run and run and run. But you're really paying for a Lexified version of a 4Runner. So that's what you're getting. So it's old technology, it's proven technology, it's old electronics, it's proven electronics. So if that's your number one priority, is sort of buying a vehicle that you can keep and run for years if you maintain it and you fill it with fuel because it likes gas, then have at it. And they do have incredible resale value, but they do like a lot of gas. But when you go to sell it, maybe 10 years from now, there'll be a lot of people that want it. I maybe think there's probably more of a cult following for 4Runner than GX, but basic kind of idea, same idea. Hell on Wheels with another super chat. Big Tudor fan. Your strap collection is sick. Greetings from a Tudor fan. I'm wearing a Tudor right now. This is a Tudor Submariner. This was the last Submariner that Tudor made in the 1990s. And this has been on many straps. It's a sickness. It really is a sickness. Here's Jade Mo with another. You guys are spoiling me with the super chats. RAV4 versus CX5. Both have auto transmission and no turbo. Okay, so if it's size, it's the RAV4. If you need more space, the RAV4 is bigger. The back seat in the CX5 is a little tight. Same thing with the cargo area. If that's not the problem for you, then the CX5 is definitely more of a driver's car. It has a more lively suspension. It has more road feel. It has more steering feedback. It has arguably a nicer interior compared to the rather industrial looking RAV4. It's got all of that. It's got the infotainment screen that you control with a wheel in the center, which is very premium. That's a nice thing. And the 2.5-liter 4-cylinder is, trying to remember the number. I think it's going to be pretty close to the RAV4. And it's also, the one thing about the RAV4 is quite noisy and buzzy. So I think that the CX-5 has a lot of check marks next to it. What it has a big X next to it is size. So if size is your issue, then the RAV4 is going to be the one. If those other features I just mentioned are a priority, then the CX-5 is a really good choice. Okay, well, thank you for all the super chats. We have 525 people on board, 226 thumbs up, and you guys can smash that. Would be great. All right, so thank you for all those super chats. Very nice of you. Very nice of you. I just realized like that watch strap thing is crazy. I wear a watch for a while, and I think I want a new strap, but I ordered another strap. Hi Zach, do you think RAV4 and Lexus UX will get a redesign soon in 2025? Well, the UX, what happened to my screen? Oh, I guess I didn't start it. All right, there we go. The UX was just redone this past year. They updated the suspension, sound insulation, new touchscreen. They got rid of the little trackpad thing, so that's just being redone. What we do know is that the RAV4 is going to be coming towards more of a larger facelift compared to what they did over the last 2 years. So RAV4 last year for 2022 got new headlamps on certain models. The top models got new headlamps. And then for 2023, they updated the head unit to add Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. But a more substantive update is due. I believe it's this year for next year. They're probably going to show it. But the UX, I don't know if they're going to do much with that. It's not a big seller for them. And that's on the subcompact class. But the RAV4, I do know, is due for an update. Hi, Zach. Why don't we have a Canadian car brand? Well, even though we don't have a Canadian nameplate, we do have a lot of influence when it comes to the parts side of cars. So a lot of cars are supplied by major part supplier Magna, which is a Canadian car company. So BMW's all-wheel drive system uses a Magna all-wheel drive system. Same thing with Genesis. There's a lot of technology that's developed by Magna that goes into cars. And of course, Canada is a manufacturing center for Toyota, Honda, and then the domestic manufacturers, and soon to be the battery plant for Volkswagen. So yeah, there have been some Canadian cars in the past, probably dating back, and one of the most famous were the McLaughlin Buicks that were made in Canada. And then, of course, the Bricklin, which was a short-lived two-door gull-wing sports car. But yeah, I think Canadians are quite happy to have jobs from other brands. Think about a country like Australia, similar sort of size and population to Canada. They had some domestic cars like the Holden, which were basically General Motors cars made for the Australian market, but they don't have a domestic car either. Given the high prices of EVs, we already answered that one. When are you driving the Grand Highlander? We will be driving the Grand Highlander in 2 weeks. So this coming week, we're home. The following week, we go to California to drive the new Porsche Cayenne. The week after that, we get to go to Hawaii, and that's where we'll get a chance to drive the Grand Highlander. And there is going to be a worldwide premiere of an all-new car that we're going to get a chance to see as well. Of the Grand Highlander will be in 2 weeks. 401 Sloth, good name. I find it odd that the government has insisted all new cars by 2035 must be EV. Wouldn't it be better to have all cars hybrid by 2035 and some hybrid and some EV later? I totally agree with you. If the government was really serious about reducing greenhouse gas emissions substantially, then it would be much easier for them to say, we are going to say by 2027 that every new vehicle needs to be a hybrid. The problem is this market is too small to dictate that. That means we would get really not much selection in our Canadian market. We would need a major player like the United States to say that. But they're not saying that. They're all in on EVs too. So we kind of have to go along with what the Americans are doing, because with a small population and selling, 1.5 to 2 million cars a year in Canada, we just can't dictate what these car manufacturers are going to do. It's going to take big countries like United States or the European Union that will dictate those sorts of things. But you're absolutely right. If you wanted to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 30% in the next few years, of new cars, just sell hybrids. And then say it's got to by 2 or 3 years after that, they've all got to be plug-ins. And then say after that, they've all got to be EVs. But this march to full EV is going to cost you and me a lot of money. So if you think about all of these changes that are being forced on us now, so you don't have a choice. You're going to have to buy, if the government gets its way, an EV come 2035. So I think that, we got a lot of people commenting saying, why would anybody buy a gas car? They're going to be worthless in the next few years as EVs takes over. I think that's 180 degrees wrong. I think that really good quality used cars are going to be sought after, because model after model after model, as we go through the next 10 years, is going to slowly disappear. So that gas car that you had might not be replaced with another version. So the ones that are for sale might actually be worth more in the future. Because I think the march towards 2035 and full EV is a bit of pixie dust. I don't think we're actually going to be able to do that. I just don't. I don't think we're going to be to go from percentage of new car sales that's around 5 or 6% up to 100%, especially for bigger commercial vehicles, trucks and vans. I just don't think it's possible. That's the way it looks now, and it sure isn't going to be cheap. Okay, I think we have more super chats. This is from John Russell. It says, I have a 16 Nissan Pathfinder, 80,000 kilometers. I need a 3-row for occasional passengers, kids, and friends. When should I trade in? New, PF, very costly, no hybrid. I think you mean Pathfinder. Oh, Pathfinder. It's costing no hybrid. Listen, if your Pathfinder has only got 80,000 kilometers on it, it might be cheaper to take it in to a reputable mechanic and get them to go over it and maybe spend a few $1,000s maintaining the car you've got. You might need new brakes and tires. Maybe you need some components changed, and you could put some new life into that car. But you're right. At that 80,000 number is a good trade-in value. If you get it over 100,000, then the trade-in value is diminished. So if you're looking for a 3-row SUV and it's only for occasional passengers, you might be able to get away with something that's a little bit smaller if you don't need to take all those people all the time. So Kia Sorento is actually good value. For the gas models, you have, and for the hybrid, I believe, you have a 3-row second row and then 2 seats in the back. If you get the plug-in model, they're just captain's chairs. So the Sorento is kind of a tweener, so for that occasional use. And the other one is the Outlander from Mitsubishi. If you're only ever using those third seats for small children occasionally, and you're honest with yourself that it's not that often, then you could get away with an Outlander for those occasional trips. And they're cheaper. So I understand what you're saying. If you're going to go back and replace your Pathfinder for Pathfinder, that's a lot of money, right? So you might want to try something a little bit smaller, like the Sorento. It might be a good choice. And is available with a hybrid. T. Michael with a super chat. Thank you very much. And here's Matthew with another super chat. This topic has probably been beat to death, but is the Mazda 3 rear torsion beam really a liability? Need to replace my 14 Civic Si. I have to tell you that being a big fan of the way Mazda makes their cars go down the road, when they changed with this last version of the Mazda 3 from independent suspension to a torsion beam rear suspension, I was like, oh, like, why would they do that? But then when you drive it, you're like, wow, it does a really good job. So it almost feels like the back is stable and the front wheels, it kind of pivots. It's hard to describe. Like the back, and it kind of, it's really well done. I'm not sure what kind of voodoo they're working with there, but it seems to work. The other brand that did it as well, they got rid of the independent rear suspension and they went to a torsion beam rear suspension with good results, is Volkswagen with Jetta. So I say, if you're driving a Civic Si, that's a pretty special little car, go and try it. You might be surprised. Like if you didn't know, this is what I would suggest. Just go into it and forget about this rear suspension and just drive it. You'll be surprised. And when you drive it, you'll feel that the back is kind of keeps the car stable, and the front wheels, it allows the front wheels to do its job. It's hard to describe kind of how it feels, but I guarantee if you go drive one, you'll come away and go, oh, that's surprising. Not what I thought, which is what we thought. Someone just said, I just saw this here. Zach, you were too modest about Magna. It makes the front motor for the Mustang, which is considered way better than the rear by Ford. All right. Here's another super chat. I'm 6'5" and 250 pounds, looking for a 2-row spacious SUV. What do you recommend? Well, if you want a lot of headroom, you might not like the answer to this, but if you like a lot of headroom, a Land Rover has a lot of headroom. Now, you might not be into that, and I get it. But 6'5" is really just one of those, you gotta try them all. German cars seem, in my opinion, to do well for larger drivers because of some big Germans, yeah? So try some of those. I would say Telluride and Palisade, if you're looking for a 3-row SUV, are really quite roomy as well. And back to German, try the Volkswagen Atlas. That's a big vehicle as well. But if you're interested in a luxury SUV, a Land Rover Defender has a ton of headroom. It's interesting, you see basketball players driving them because they're tall. So a 2-row spacious SUV. So 2-row, you could do the Volkswagen Atlas Sport Cross, which is basically the same vehicle but is only 2 rows. Those are a few I would consider. Okay, more super chats coming in here. Ranjan, there's a nice super chat, no question, but I appreciate that. This is from Brawley. What do you think of resale Camaro SS beyond 2024? Well, with the demise, anything unique and different, I've talked about this before, anything that's unique and different today, which is sort of sought after, will be unique and desirable in the future. So just think about cars that are not going to be around for long, like say a Camaro, or even a gasoline-powered Mustang, or a manual transmission vehicle, or a vehicle like the Subaru WRX. That's not going to be around forever. Or like a Golf R or a GTI, or even a Mazda Miata with a manual transmission, internal combustion engine. All of these things, because of the legislation we just talked about, are all going to have to go away. So in the years to come, people, like you think about the unique and different cars that are today, they're even going to be more sought after in the future. So yeah, unique and special edition Camaros and Mustangs and Challengers, and especially anything with a large V8 or a manual transmission, like anything like that is going to be sought after. I was thinking about like a look at the STI. The WRX STI isn't sold any longer. Now those things are like impossible to get. A Golf R is impossible to get. So these are the sorts of things, anything that's unique and different today is going to be really sought after in the future. Here's John M. with a super chat. No question, I don't see. I just want to make sure I get all these super chats in because it's very generous of you, and I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to go back up to the top here and go back to some that I didn't get. All right. What's your opinion on car umbrellas like the Land Moto? I don't know what a car umbrella is. I've never heard of a car umbrella. Would you recommend a used Volt? Well, people that have the Volt love them. Speaking to people that work at General Motors dealerships, say they have been very reliable. They have, great EV range compared to a lot of the new plug-in hybrids that are sold today. The Bolt has, especially when they updated it, has the same kind of range that people are getting in new plug-ins today. So I would do some, lots of research online from existing owners to see what they say. I got a friend who lives in California. I think he said 2 or 3 of them. And people who have Volts really like them. I like the Volt. They got rid of it, and I think it would have had a place in the market today in light of high fuel prices to have not only the Bolt, but the Volt. But the Bolt and the Volt were the stepping stones to General Motors EV aspirations. But one of the issues with the Volt is the back seat, is it has the big battery tunnel that runs through the middle. Was a bit of a deal breaker for some. But yeah, do more research. The feedback I have is they're quite reliable or very reliable. 2019 RDX A-Spec with 98,000 kilometers thoughts. Okay, we are driving an RDX. Actually, we just gave it back today. A-Spec. But this is the 2023 model. 2019 was the first year for that updated RDX, and it had issues. Okay, so 19 and 20 and 21 models were more problematic, and then the last few years they've really turned things around and upped the quality, and that's common with car companies that do incremental changes and update their models and make them more reliable. So the current RDX has proven to be quite reliable. What I'm basically saying to you is a 2019 RDX wouldn't be my choice. So if you you might want to keep looking or look for a newer one. Jeffrey Rosenberg, what other car reviewers, if any, do you enjoy watching? I don't watch anybody else. The only car thing I really watch regularly is M539 Restorations. It's a guy in Frankfurt in Germany who restores old BMWs. I love that. They're like an hour long. I just love it all. He's wrenching on these cars. He's restoring these cars. But other car reviews, see, for me, a car review is like work. So I don't watch anybody else's reviews. All right. By the way, we're at 577 people on board. That's a new record, so thank you. Here's another super chat. We have a CX-5 at the end of the lease and looking for a new compact SUV. What would you recommend between the X3, RDX, GV70 base engine version? I think we just answered your question in the RDX video we recorded this morning. Listen, if you're wanting the most power, it's going to be the GV70. If you're wanting the best road manners, it's going to be the X3. If you're looking for the kind of the best all-rounder, the RDX is in there. It has really good power. So the most powerful model of base engines in the compact SUV space is the GV70 with the 2.5 liter turbo, right around 300, I believe. Then it's the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, and then the RDX. So power isn't an issue. 10-speed automatic transmission is actually working well in the one that we just drove. It's nicely styled. It's a good size. It's got good road manners. And if you get the A-Spec with the adaptive suspension, that makes the vehicle even more fun to drive. The downside to the RDX is the infotainment and the center cluster with the trackpad and the stupid push-button transmission and all that kind of stuff are just answers to the questions we just don't need. The X3 is very simple and logical in the way it's laid out. Classic BMW user interface. It just does everything really well. They've been perfecting it for years. And the GV70 is kind of a new take on what BMW has done. So they're all quite different in their own way. But the RDX is probably the best value of the bunch. And one you might want to throw in there just for fun is the Q5. The Q5 is getting towards the end of its life cycle, so it might be some better value with the Q5. I've got a few more super chats here. Thoughts on VW reliability? I've always wanted one. Well, I hear such conflicting stories on this. Some people have terrible experiences, and other people, they have no. My dad has a Volkswagen. It's his second one in a row. The first one, he had an issue with the sunroof leaking. This current one, I think it's been pretty good for him. Speaking with Thomas Tetzlaff from Volkswagen Canada about this very question, he says the way they measure it inside the company is their warranty costs. So how much are they putting out in money to fix the cars after they've been sold? And he said their numbers are coming down. So their internal metric is that warranty repairs are going down. That's costing them less, which means the cars are more reliable. Always remember that vehicles in their first couple of years can be more problematic. Back to that 2019 RDX I just talked about. Same thing when the Atlas was first introduced. But as the years have gone by, things have gotten better. So one thing you want to look at is maybe buy a car that's been out for a while. And that's going to be more reliable for you. Pavan with a super chat. Thank you for what you do. By highlighting the right cars and manufacturer, you have a few thousand times of this super chat for us. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to read that again. By highlighting the right cars and manufacturers, you save a few thousand times of this super chat for us. Oh, I see what you're saying. You save you money. Well, that's good. Well, here, we're just trying to do our best and provide the information for you to buy cars, and I think it comes across that we're pretty honest. No, it's not that we're pretty honest. We're honest about our impressions of the cars. So if that's helpful, that's why we're here. So thank you. Here's John M. with a super chat. My Volvo S80 has 169,000 miles, and last week I spent $1,500 US fixing the AC. Is it time to get a new car? Maintenance, tires, brakes are up to date. Well, that's one thing you need to have a good, hard discussion with your mechanic about it. The S80 is a full size, I guess in relatives terms, mid to full size luxury Volvo car, which you really can't get anymore. They have the S90. But like sometimes buying a new car, you're going to get something new. But if you just invest a little bit of money in your existing car, and like you said, your maintenance, tires and brakes and everything are up to date. So this is a conversation you really need to have with your mechanic and say, what do you think of the state of this car? Is it going to give me another 3-4 years of service, or are things going to start to go sideways? Are there lots of oil leaks? Is the transmission leaking? The differential, all those sorts of things, and put it up on the hoist and have a good look at it. At that kind of mileage, you're getting into the time where things are going to really need to be updated and replaced. So there you go. Your AC, or was it infotainment? Yeah, your AC system at $1,500 could just be the beginning of more repairs like that. Maybe not. But that's really a conversation you need to have. And there's somebody that knows Volvos and ask them, like, what are the weak spots on these cars? What typically go on them? What can I expect to replace or repair? And what things are really quite bulletproof and last a long time? So no one has a crystal ball. But at the age of the car and the miles on the car, it's probably not worth a ton of money. But it might be to you to put a few $1,000s into it and drive it for many years to come. It's a tough one, that one. Sorry if it's been asked, but when will some of these Chinese EVs be coming over here? I'm thinking BYD, NIO. Love the channel. I think there's a big political football to getting Chinese cars into North America with EVs. I suspect what might happen is what they might do is white label them, which means they'll be made by BYD or NIO or whomever, and then they'll put another brand's badge on them, and that's the way they'll get them into the marketplace. We're seeing more Chinese cars in Europe, but not here in North America. There are some Chinese manufacturers' cars sold in Canada and the United States, from brands like General Motors and Volvo, but I just don't think there's a lot of appetite for Chinese cars, considering the shenanigans that have been going on with China politically, especially here in the Canadian market. There's headlines week after week of China interference in politics and so on, keeping Canadians hostage for a couple of years. So there'd be a little bit of resistance to that. Not saying it's not saying it's not gonna happen. I just don't think the appetite is ready just now. I think the way they could backdoor it is to bring them in under a different name, and then people might not know. That's probably the way they have to do it. Okay, we are past our hour. Thanks to everybody for being here. Don't forget to follow carcostcanada.com. Use the promo code MotorMouth. And this week, it's the all-new Crosstrek, drops on Tuesday. The RDX we've been talking about, that video drops on Wednesday. Saturday, it's going to be the Mercedes-Benz EQB. The following week, we go to drive the Porsche Cayenne in California. The week after that, we drive the Grand Highlander in Hawaii. So we're really excited about getting to go to Hawaii, which is a lot of fun. So there you go. Thank you so much for taking part. Thank you for all the generous super chats. What can I say but thank you. It's really great of you. And we'll see you here next Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take it easy.